Welcome to Psych Secrets, where we break down the hidden forces that shape your thoughts, behaviors, and decisions. If you've ever felt stuck, wondered why you can't take action, or questioned why some people seem to effortlessly move forward while others stay trapped, you're in the right place. Psychology isn't just about theory, it's about understanding the mechanics of the mind and using that knowledge to take control of your life. Today, we're diving deep into the silent force that keeps millions of people stuck in passivity, a force so subtle that most people don't even realize it's controlling them. By the end of this video, you'll not only recognize how passivity holds you back, but you'll also learn actionable strategies backed by psychology to break free and regain momentum. And trust me, the final insight is the most important of all, the key to unlocking a life of action, confidence, and unstoppable progress. So if you're ready to stop waiting and start taking charge of your future, make sure to stay until the end, because this might be the breakthrough you've been looking for. Understanding passivity, the invisible prison. Why do some people stay stuck while others take action? Passivity is like quicksand. The longer you hesitate, the deeper you sink. At first, it doesn't feel like a problem. It disguises itself as patience, strategic thinking, or being careful, but over time, it erodes your potential, drains your ambition, and leaves you watching life from the sidelines while others move forward. Some people break free from hesitation and take action, while others remain stuck for years. Why? Scientific study, learned helplessness experiment. One of the most famous studies on passivity and inaction was conducted by Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology. In his learned helplessness experiment, dogs were placed in a cage and exposed to repeated mild electric shocks. Initially, they tried to escape, but after repeated failures, they eventually stopped trying altogether, even when an escape route was later provided. This revealed a powerful psychological truth. When individuals repeatedly experience failure or feel powerless, they begin to believe that no effort will change their situation. Real-life example, the struggling student. Imagine a student who consistently fails at math in school. After a few bad grades, they start to believe, I'm just bad at math. No matter how hard I try, I won't get better. Even if they have the ability to improve, they stop trying altogether, because their mind has convinced them that effort is pointless. This same learned helplessness applies to careers, relationships, and fitness goals. If someone fails at starting a business, they may conclude, I'm not good at business, and never try again. If someone experiences repeated heartbreak, they may believe, I'm not meant to find love, and give up on relationships entirely. The belief that failure is permanent becomes the real reason they stay stuck. How passivity becomes a cycle. Passivity is a self-reinforcing loop. You experience failure or rejection. You start believing your efforts don't matter. You hesitate the next time an opportunity arises. You take no action, reinforcing the belief that you are powerless. The cycle repeats indefinitely. At this point, passivity becomes habitual, not because of external barriers, but because of your own mindset. The comfort trap, how passivity feels safe but steals your future. Not all passivity is caused by fear. Sometimes it's caused by comfort. Humans are wired to seek safety and predictability. In ancient times, this protected us from danger. But in modern life, this instinct works against us, making us stay in unfulfilling situations simply because they are familiar. Example, why people stay in unhappy jobs. A person hates their job, but stays because it provides a stable paycheck. Every day they tell themselves, maybe next year I'll quit. Years pass and they're still in the same place, not because they love their job, but because change feels too uncomfortable. The same applies to relationships. Someone stays in a toxic relationship because the idea of starting over feels overwhelming. Even if they're unhappy, the familiarity feels safer than the unknown. Why the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. Passivity snowballs. The longer you hesitate, the more your brain rationalizes inaction. The more you avoid discomfort, the more fearful you become of change. Over time, you become so stuck in your comfort zone that even small actions feel impossible. Psychological study, the status quo bias. Research on decision-making has shown that humans naturally favor the status quo, even when change would benefit them. In one study, participants were offered better retirement plans, but chose to stick with their old ones, simply because change felt like too much effort. This bias keeps people trapped in familiar routines, even if those routines are limiting their potential. The boiling frog syndrome. There's an old story about a frog in a pot of water. If you throw a frog into boiling water, it will jump out immediately. But if you heat the water slowly, the frog won't notice the temperature rising until it's too late. This is exactly how passivity works. If someone suddenly loses everything, they might be forced to take action. But if life remains just comfortable enough, they stay stuck indefinitely, never realizing they are slowly boiling in mediocrity. Breaking the cycle, recognizing passivity in your own life. Passivity hides in everyday behaviors. If you constantly delay action, ask yourself, what have I been postponing for months or years? Where am I letting fear or comfort control my choices? What would my life look like if I had started taking action a year ago? If you realize you've been waiting for the perfect time to act, that's a sign you're stuck in the passivity trap. The comfort trap. Why we stay stuck in the familiar. Passivity is not always caused by fear. Sometimes it's caused by comfort. Many assume that inaction comes from fear, but in reality, one of the biggest reasons people fail to take action is because they are too comfortable. Psychologists have found that the human brain is wired for safety and predictability. In the past, this instinct kept our ancestors alive. Those who avoided unnecessary risks had a higher chance of survival. However, in the modern world, this survival mechanism works against us, keeping us trapped in unfulfilling lives, stagnant careers, and unhealthy relationships. Why do we stay in unfulfilling situations? Think about it. Why do people stay in jobs they hate instead of pursuing something better? Why do people remain in toxic relationships instead of leaving? Why do people dream of change but never act on it? The answer: comfort feels safer than the unknown. We would rather stay in a situation we don't love but know, rather than risk stepping into something new and uncertain. This is why so many people choose mediocrity over possibility, not because they lack talent or ambition, but because change is uncomfortable. The brain processes uncertainty as a threat. Psychological insight. Neuroscientists have discovered that the brain treats uncertainty as a threat, even if the change could be positive. The amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for detecting danger, becomes highly active when faced with uncertainty. This triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol, making even the thought of change feel overwhelming. As a result, people default to what's familiar, even when it's unfulfilling. Example: imagine someone considering quitting their stable but soul-draining job to pursue their passion. Their brain immediately creates worst-case scenarios. What if I fail? What if I regret it? What if I can't find another job? The stress of uncertainty overrides the excitement of possibility, leading them to stay in their current situation, even if they're miserable. The psychological cost of maintaining comfort. Comfort feels good in the short term, but in the long run, it can be destructive. The scientific study, the regret of inaction. A famous study by Cornell University psychologist Thomas Gilovich found that people regret things they didn't do far more than things they did and failed at. While short-term regrets are often about bad decisions, long-term regrets are almost always about missed opportunities. Real-life example. Ask elderly people about their biggest regrets. They rarely regret taking risks and failing. Instead, they regret the dreams they never pursued, the relationships they didn't fight for, and the chances they let slip away. This is the real danger of the comfort trap. It robs you of future possibilities in exchange for temporary security. How does the comfort trap manifest in daily life? Passivity, doesn't always show up as a major life decision. Sometimes it hides in small, everyday habits. The endless planning trap. Constantly making plans to improve your life, but never executing them. Example, reading self-help books, but never applying the lessons. The I'll start tomorrow mentality. Waiting for the perfect moment to take action. Example, I'll start going to the gym after this weekend. But the cycle repeats indefinitely. The small excuses that keep you stuck. Believing that a small inconvenience is a valid reason not to act. Example, I want to start a business, but I don't have time. Yet there's time for hours of social media scrolling. How to escape the comfort trap. Shift your perspective on discomfort. Psychological study, The Growth Mindset, Carol Dweck. Research by psychologist Carol Dweck found that people with a growth mindset who embrace discomfort achieve far greater success than those who avoid it. Instead of seeing discomfort as a threat, they see it as a sign of growth. Practical application. Instead of thinking, change is scary, reframe it as, discomfort means I'm growing. Use the 5-second rule to override hesitation. Psychological insight, the 5-second rule. Mel Robbins introduced the 5-second rule, a simple technique to override hesitation. The moment you feel the urge to act, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and immediately take action. This prevents your brain from talking you out of it. Action disrupts overthinking and builds momentum. Example, instead of I'll go to the gym later, use the 5-second rule to get up immediately and put on your workout clothes. Create disruptive habits to break routine. Passivity thrives in repetitive routines. To escape, change small habits that disrupt the cycle. Examples, if you always watch TV after work, replace it with reading or exercise. If you check social media first thing in the morning, replace it with journaling or meditation. If you never take risks, commit to one small challenge each week. Set a regret test for major decisions. When faced with a big decision, ask yourself, in 10 years, will I regret not doing this? If the answer is yes, take action now. This forces you to prioritize long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. Identity paralysis, the beliefs that keep you trapped. Are you stuck because of who you think you are? One of the most powerful and invisible forces keeping people stuck in life is identity paralysis, the unconscious belief that who you are today is who you will always be. People don't just struggle with change because of fear or comfort. They struggle because their self-image is holding them back. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I've never been good at leadership. I've always struggled with self-discipline. I'm just not a risk taker. These statements might seem harmless, but they are mental prisons, barriers that shape your reality and limit your potential without you even realizing it. The science behind identity paralysis. Carol Dweck's growth versus fixed mindset psychologist, Carol Dweck introduced the concept of the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset, a theory that explains why some people take action while others remain stuck. Fixed mindset believes abilities, intelligence, and personality are permanent. People with this mindset avoid challenges because they think, if I fail, it proves I'm not good enough. Growth mindset believes skills and traits can be developed. People with this mindset see failure as feedback, thinking, if I fail, I can learn and improve. Example, a student with a fixed mindset who fails an exam thinks, I'm just bad at this. I'll never be good at math. They stop trying. A student with a growth mindset thinks, I need to study differently next time. They adapt and improve. This applies to every area of life. The moment you shift your mindset, your actions follow. How identity shapes your actions. Your identity isn't just a reflection of who you are. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you're bad at decision-making, you hesitate. If you believe you lack confidence, you avoid speaking up. If you believe you're not a leader, you never step forward. Over time, these beliefs become reality. not because they're true, but because you've reinforced them through repeated behavior. Scientific study, self-concept, and behavior. A study in psychological science found that people tend to act in ways that align with their self-image, even when that self-image is negative. Participants who saw themselves as bad at math performed worse than those who didn't, even when they had similar abilities. Their beliefs influenced their actual performance, not their talent or intelligence. Real-life example: a person who constantly tells themselves, "I'm just bad at relationships," will unconsciously sabotage their connections because their mind is programmed to confirm that belief. The story of the elephant and the rope. In villages where elephants are trained, trainers tie baby elephants with a small rope. The young elephant tries to break free, but fails repeatedly. Eventually, it stops trying. Even when the elephant grows strong enough to break free, it remains trapped, not because of the rope, but because of the belief that escape is impossible. This is identity paralysis. You're capable of breaking free, but your past experiences or limiting beliefs convince you that you can't. The 3 biggest identity myths that keep you stuck. There are 3 major identity beliefs that cause passivity and self-sabotage. 1. This is just the way I am. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that their personality, abilities, and habits are permanent. I've always been shy. I'm just not disciplined. I'm not good with money. These statements create mental walls that keep you trapped in old patterns. Scientific insight, neuroplasticity. Neuroscientists have proven that the brain is constantly rewiring itself. Your habits, thoughts, and behaviors are not fixed. They can be changed at any age. Real-life application. Instead of saying, "I've always been bad at public speaking," try, "I'm improving my public speaking skills every time I practice." Your identity should be fluid, not fixed. You are not a finished product. Shot 2. I have to feel ready before I take action. Most people wait for motivation before making changes. But the truth is, action creates motivation, not the other way around. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll never start. Psychological study, the do something principle. Research on procrastination shows that motivation increases after we take action, not before. Even small steps trigger the dopamine reward system, which fuels further action. Example: instead of waiting for the motivation to work out, just put on your gym shoes and start stretching. Once you take the first step, your brain naturally wants to continue. #3. I need to be perfect before I start. Perfectionism is one of the biggest causes of passivity. People don't take action because they fear not being good enough. But perfection is an illusion. No one starts as an expert. Scientific insight, the good enough rule. Barry Schwartz, 2004. Research shows that perfectionists are less successful than those who embrace imperfect progress. Why? Because perfectionists delay action, while high achievers focus on momentum. Example: an aspiring writer never finishes a book because they want every sentence to be perfect. A successful writer writes messy drafts, then improves along the way. The lesson? Start now, improve later. How to overcome identity paralysis. Now that you see how self-beliefs shape your actions, here's how to break free. Rewrite your identity script. Instead of saying, "I'm bad at discipline," say, "I'm becoming more disciplined every day." "I'm not a risk taker." Say, "I'm learning to embrace challenges." Psychological trick: identity-based atomic habits. Your actions should reinforce your desired identity. Instead of focusing on goals, focus on who you are becoming. Example: if you want to become fit, don't just set a goal to lose weight. Adopt the identity of a healthy person who enjoys exercise. Take identity-changing actions. The fastest way to reprogram your self-image is to take small, consistent actions that contradict old beliefs. If you believe you're not confident, practice speaking up in small ways. If you believe you're not a morning person, Wake up 10 minutes earlier each day. Small actions create proof that your identity is changing. Surround yourself with growth-oriented people. Scientific study, the social influence effect, Christakis Fowler, Harvard. Research found that your mindset and habits are shaped by the people around you. Being around growth-minded individuals rewires your brain for success in action. Real-life application. Spend time with action takers and you'll naturally take more action. Avoid people who constantly reinforce limiting beliefs. How to break free from passivity. Breaking free from passivity isn't about making one grand, life-changing decision. It's about retraining your brain to take action consistently, even when you don't feel like it. Most people remain stuck because they rely on motivation, which is unreliable. The key is to develop strategic, science-backed habits that override hesitation and force you into action. Step 1. Use the 5-second rule. Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. Mel Robbins, a best-selling author and motivational speaker, developed a simple but powerful technique to override hesitation. When you feel the urge to take action, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move immediately. This interrupts the brain's habit of procrastination before it can take over. Why does this work? The human brain is wired for survival. When faced with an uncomfortable task, the amygdala, the fear center of the brain, triggers hesitation as a protective mechanism, even when the task isn't actually dangerous. The 5-second rule bypasses this hesitation by forcing immediate action before the brain has time to talk you out of it. Real-life applications. Want to work out? Count down and start moving. Need to make a call? Count down and pick up the phone. Thinking of speaking up in a meeting? Count down and do it. Small actions break big patterns. The more you use this technique, the more you rewire your brain to associate action with momentum instead of fear. Step 2. Shift from motivation to discipline. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline is the key. Most people wait to feel motivated before they take action. But motivation is temporary. It comes and goes. The most successful people don't depend on motivation. They rely on discipline, the ability to take action whether they feel like it or not. James Clear's Atomic Habits. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, explains that real change doesn't happen through sudden bursts of motivation. Instead, it happens through small, consistent improvements over time. If you improve just 1% every day, your results compound exponentially, leading to extraordinary changes over months or years. The key is making small changes that feel easy, instead of aiming for perfection from the start. Example, instead of saying, "I need to get in shape," commit to just 2 minutes of exercise per day. Instead of planning a huge career change, start by spending 10 minutes a day learning a new skill. Tiny actions create momentum, and momentum leads to lasting discipline. Step 3. Lower the barrier to action. When something feels overwhelming, your brain will try to avoid it. To counter this, make the first step as small as possible so there's no excuse to delay. The 2-minute rule. David Allen getting things done. David Allen's productivity research found that the brain resists big tasks, but doesn't resist tiny, quick actions. His 2-minute rule states, if a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. If it's bigger, break it into a 2-minute version to get started. Examples. Want to write a book? Start by writing 1 sentence per day. Want to start a business? Spend 10 minutes brainstorming an idea. Want to read more? Read just 1 page per day. Small steps beat no steps. Starting is the hardest part. Once you begin, momentum takes over. 4. Set a point of no return. One of the most effective ways to ensure you take action is to create commitment and accountability so that backing out becomes harder than moving forward. The Psychology of Commitment, Robert Cialdini influence. Studies show that public commitments significantly increase follow-through rates. Once you tell people you will do something, You're psychologically more likely to follow through to avoid cognitive dissonance, the discomfort of being inconsistent. How to apply this? Announce your goal publicly to friends on social media or in a group. Set up financial consequences, e.g., betting money on your success. Use accountability partners. Work with a friend or coach who checks in on you. By removing your ability to back out, you force yourself to act. Step 5. Change your identity first, action second. Instead of focusing on what you want to do, shift your focus to who you want to become. Identity-based habits. People don't just act based on goals, they act based on identity. If you see yourself as a fit person, you naturally make healthier choices. If you see yourself as a disciplined person, you follow through more often. Example, instead of saying, "I want to quit smoking," say, "I am not a smoker." Instead of saying, "I want to start reading," say, "I am a reader." Instead of saying, "I want to be more productive," say, "I am the type of person who gets things done." The more you act like the person you want to become, the more that identity becomes real. Step 6. Train your brain to associate action with reward. The dopamine effect. Neuroscientists have found that dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, is triggered by progress. When you complete even a small task, your brain releases dopamine, making you want to take more action. This is why checking things off a list feels satisfying. Your brain loves progress. How to apply this? Use habit tracking. Physically mark off completed tasks. Reward yourself for taking action, not just for achieving results. Focus on celebrating small wins every day. Your brain learns that taking action feels good, making future actions easier. Step 7. Stop overthinking. Decide faster. One of the biggest causes of passivity is overthinking. The longer you analyze and hesitate, the harder it becomes to act. The 70% rule, Jeff Bezos, Amazoner. Bezos follows the 70% rule. Don't wait for 100% certainty to make a decision. If you have 70% of the information, decide and take action. How to apply this? When facing a decision, give yourself a short deadline. 5 minutes, 1 hour, or 1 day. Once the deadline hits, act, don't analyze. The faster you make decisions, the less time fear has to take control. Radical responsibility, the ultimate escape from passivity. Breaking free from passivity isn't just about taking action, it's about changing your mindset at the core. The final step is embracing radical responsibility, a concept that separates those who own their future from those who remain stuck in excuses. Who controls your future? Radical responsibility means accepting that your life is 100% in your hands. It means eliminating blame, excuses, and waiting for the perfect moment. Most people don't lack opportunities. They lack the belief that they have control. They wait for external validation, a perfect plan, a moment of motivation that never comes. But the most successful people don't wait, they act. The real reason people stay passive, fear of ownership. Radical responsibility is scary because it removes every excuse. If your life is 100% in your hands, then failure is also your responsibility. If you take action and things go wrong, you have no one else to blame. But the truth is, this is the most freeing realization you can have. Locus of control, the science of taking ownership. Psychologist Julian Rotter, 1954, developed the concept of locus of control, which refers to how much control people believe they have over their lives. People with an external locus of control believe that fate, luck, or external forces determine their success. They blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck. People with an internal locus of control believe that they create their own success. They take ownership of their choices, their failures, and their outcomes. Example, the passive mindset. I can't succeed because the economy is bad. The action taker mindset. The economy is bad, but I'll find a way to adapt. The difference between passivity and success is not external factors, It's how much ownership you take. The comfort trap, why most people reject responsibility. Radical responsibility is simple, but most people reject it. Why? Because it's easier to stay comfortable than to face reality. The comfort versus growth dilemma, Carol Dweck's mindset research. Psychologist Carol Dweck found that people generally have two mindsets. Fixed mindset avoids responsibility because failure is seen as a reflection of identity. Growth mindset takes full responsibility because failure is seen as a stepping stone to growth. Example, fixed mindset, I've always been this way, I can't change. Growth mindset, I can develop any skill if I commit to improving. If you want to escape passivity, you must choose growth over comfort every single day. Stop waiting for permission. Most people unconsciously seek permission to act. They wait for validation from others, perfect conditions, the right moment to feel ready. Psychological study, the power of self-permission. A study from Columbia University found that people who make their own decisions instead of waiting for external approval experience higher confidence, lower stress, greater life satisfaction. Real-life example, the passive mindset, I'll wait until I get more experience before I apply for that job. The action taker mindset, I'll apply for the job and learn as I go. No one is coming to give you permission. The only approval you need is your own. The truth about failure, it's not what you think. Most people fear failure so much that they do nothing at all. But failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the path to success. Thomas Edison's 10,000 failures. When asked about his repeated failures while inventing the light bulb, Edison responded, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Every successful person in history failed more than they succeeded. The difference? They kept moving forward, reframing failure, fixed mindset. If I fail, I'm not good enough. Growth mindset. If I fail, I learn something valuable. Failure is not an endpoint, it's a lesson. The faster you fail, the faster you grow. How to implement radical responsibility in your life. Eliminate excuses. From now on, eliminate every excuse from your vocabulary. Excuse, I don't have time. Radical responsibility, I'll make time. Excuse, I don't know how to start. Radical responsibility, I'll figure it out as I go. The moment you stop making excuses, you reclaim your power.